Hello, in today's video what I want to do is talk about sigils and how to create a powerful sigil with built-in intention. So what is a sigil? A sigil is basically a powerful symbol that you will create that is used in magic to state your intentions. Now it's important that we use the correct intention when we're actually creating it. So, as a bit of an example, let's say you have a friend in hospital. They were hurt in a crash. When you go and see them, the chances are you're going to be worried, you're going to be concerned, you feel sad and you feel upset for that friend, especially if you've been knocked around a little bit. And so you sort of, in a sense, become emphatic with them and you start feeling the pain and you feel the sorrow and the upset that they're facing. But really that's not the right intention we should have when we're going to visit somebody in hospital or somebody who's very poorly. What we should do is think of them being well again, remembering when they were well, when they were fit, when they were unhurt or whatever, because that's the energy we want to give to that person who is sick at the moment. But very often, and quite naturally, when we go and see people, we end up feeling sorry for them, and those lower vibrations are passed on to the person, so it really doesn't help them. And the same when we're creating a sigil, we must think of what the actual intention is, and make sure we're thinking about that intention when we're creating it. Good thing about sigils as well, it can be placed around the home to subliminally remind you, and if you like, recharge the spell itself. And this is really handy. Now I know in a lot of cases when we're doing spells, once we release the spell to the universe to be manifested or whatever, we tend to then forget about the spell, put it to one side and don't think about it again. But certainly when it comes to healing and stuff like this, we do want to keep sending out positive thoughts. So as an example here, let's say you've got a gran or a granddad or somebody who's getting old and they're feeling quite poorly. Now what we can do is we could think of them when we're creating a sigil as being fit and active again. We could put a picture out of them, create a sigil with that intention, and say put the sigil next to the picture. You could put it anywhere in the house, and what will happen is once you've done your work in creating the sigil, whenever you notice a sigil or look at it, even if you're not consciously aware of it, subliminally you'll be getting to them energetic levels again, which is recharging the spell itself. Also, it does help stop the doubt of ego when spell working. And I've been there many times myself, because during a spell obviously you've got to state your intentions, and 9 times out of 10 Sod's Law will say once you get to that crunch point, ego will step in and say, really? Is this really going to work? Do you believe it? And the biggest problem and the main reason for any spell failing is doubt, and ego's always going to do that to you. No matter what happens, it's going to do it. So the good thing about a sigil here is once it's been created and I've put the intention into it, I do not need to think about the intention when I'm doing a spell. I will get into a trance-like state, do what I need to do if I'm using correspondences and stuff like this. But then instead of stating my intent, I will just meditate and focus on the sigil itself, following the lines round with my eyes, just looking at the sigil, because again I've programmed this subliminally into my mind to get the effect that I want. So it helps remove that doubt that sometimes creeps in. So to create one then, think of your actual intention and write it down. So as an example here, I want my friend Mary to get well as fast as possible. I will then break that sentence down into actual action words itself, i.e. nouns, and also various names. So in this case I'm saying, want Mary, get well quickly. I will then reduce that to its very basic components. Mary well. I know what it means. because I've wrote the sentence, but I want to reduce it all the way down to the very, very basics to take as much complexity out of this as I can. But this is your actual intention. So my intention is Mary well, 2 words. I then remove all the vowels, and I've capitalised it here so it stands out on the screen a little bit better. I will then remove repeated letters. In this case we've got 2 letter L's, so I take one of the L's out, and these are letters you're going to use to create your sigil. And then we get creating, and I've got an example coming up shortly of a short video of me creating a sigil using the letters I'm left with. There are many ways to create a sigil. Be as creative as you can. This is another example here where we can see we have inner and outer circles, and we have various letters in there, and people will join the letters together in a certain sequence. This is just another way of creating a sigil. It's entirely up to you, but as you can see with this particular method it produces a lot of straight lines, and I prefer to have a bit more of a balance in there and have curves, etc. in my sigils. Be very creative with them, but there's nothing wrong in doing it this way. We can also use magical text. Okay, so where I've broken my words down, I could turn as an example to the most common magical text we've got out there, the runic alphabet or the Theban alphabet, and take the letters out of that, convert my sentence into these letters, and that can be used to create my sigil as well. It's entirely up to you. So I'd like to move on to the video example now of me creating a sigil. I'm just going to use some basic words there, and I did do it on the fly for the video. I would obviously take a little bit more time doing it, and once I've completed the sigil I would recopy it, I'd focus on it, I'd meditate on it,